Part of me is like, it would have been nice to have like Ash Barty and Serena still around playing like really good tennis to see how that would have shaped up.
It doesn't matter what it is. It's consistency of schedule, consistency of training, consistency of strength and conditioning. Doesn't matter what you pick. I don't think any of it's quite there yet.
I thought that was one of the best matches I've seen in ages. Like one of the best matches of the year. Just the sheer consistency of that playing at that pace, and just the running as well are just ridiculous.
Like people would say, oh no, he's just being cocky, but in that moment when they've played amazing tennis and they know they can celebrate, you want to see the celebration. You don't want to see someone just walking back. You want to clap with them.
Welcome back to the Getting Grip podcast. What a couple of weeks we've had at the US Open. Whilst in the UK and in the Commonwealth we've had a changing in the monarchy, so too we have in the tennis world, as we have a new king, Carlos Alcaraz, or King Carlos as he shall now be called. And of course on the women's side, still the queen, as we already knew, is a one Iga Swiatek, claiming her second Grand Slam of the year, and I think that's 3 slams in total now, going on her merry way. I'm sure there'll be more to come in the next years. Well, she's only like 20, isn't she? So plenty more years ahead of her, as Alcaraz is only 19 as well, so plenty more to come from him. We'll start off on the women's side. I don't know, how much did you see of the final between Ons and Iga? Obviously the two kind of leading women this year, really. It was almost felt a little bit inevitable that they would come together in the final. Iga, she won the first set fairly easily from what I can remember, but then on sort of halfway through the second set kind of found that kind of form. I don't know whether she just sort of felt like she had nothing to lose at that point. She kind of started going for her shots more, and it was more like the contest we were hoping it would be. And then she sort of pushed her to a tie break, but it was a little bit too little too late at that point. What did you make of the final and just the women's side in general, I suppose?
I mean, I didn't get to watch a huge amount of it. And what actually surprised me the most about the women's draw this year at the US Open, like we've talked about this previously, the idea that, the US Open is when a lot of players are lacking the energy. They've been through a long season. It's sort of that business end where, we're getting towards the ATP Tour finals and, all of these different ends to the year. And you expect some of the underdogs to come floating through, but no, not with the women. The women were powering ahead, all strong, all looking really solid. I think what we'd seen over the past season came to a bit of a head at the US Open, which is really good to see. Some of those consistencies really started to take place, which is interesting because it's complete opposite with the men's scene at the moment. It's a complete role reversal, you could argue. But no, yeah, absolute congrats to Swiatek. Like she's played exceptional tennis. Like her form dipped off a little bit after the clay court season, but she found it again. She brought it back. Slower courts plays to her advantage in some ways. It really good, really good. Like I said, as you said, like she found it towards the end. From what I saw from the highlights, didn't watch the whole match sadly, but. Like I say, like at that level, when you're first competing in these finals more regularly, you have to find a way to be hot from the start. And if you don't start hot, then that's what will happen. So as much as you might find that form at some point, it's probably too late.
Yeah, it was. I don't know. Maybe it's a bit worrying for all the other women because I know it was. Well, you say it is the slower of the two hardcore events, but it was playing pretty quick, especially that first week because it was boiling hot or whatever. Despite the tennis balls that they were using, but there were many protestations about. But yeah, so that'll give Swiatek massive confidence. Not that she really needs it, but that she can sort of cope on these quicker surfaces because obviously she struggled a little bit at Wimbledon. Was that? A little bit of fatigue or the surface, combination of both. What we don't really know, but yes, she's kind of mainly been suited to like clay courts and slower courts. Hence the 2 Grand Slams before with French Open. But this now, like she said afterwards, she was like, well, like anything's kind of possible now, which is a little bit frightening, given the year that she has had already, and that she had that 37 match winning streak as well from before. I don't know. Is there anyone that you can see coming up and challenging her? The kind of what name springs to mind? Coco Gauff, possibly. It's just that she plays with such aggression and a bit like Carlos on the men's side. It's just like 100 miles an hour basically, non-stop, like the whole time, and consistency at that pace as well. I don't know. Is there anyone that can really challenge her going forward?
No. There's no one that's playing the way she's playing at the moment. So the question more so is, can she sustain that form, rather than can someone take that form away from her? Because, like I say, the women's tour is very, very competitive as it is at the moment, and we've always had the issue of will the form persist throughout years rather than 8 year. But yeah, the challenge for her is, can she keep that level up? Because it's one of the highest levels of a player we've ever seen, in my opinion, on the WTA. The only people that can sort of beat that in terms of consistency is the likes of Serena Williams, maybe Venus Williams, earlier in her career as well. So the hope is that she will continually have this consistency, and that we'll have a little bit of a champion on our hands.
Yeah, I suppose in that respect, it's good to have that kind of someone with the target, and people can get behind her or get behind people who are up against her. But part of me is like, it would have been nice to have like Ash Barty and Serena still around playing like really good tennis, to see how that would have shaped up.
We'd have liked to have a more competitive sort of top four, top five on the women's side as well, because we've been blessed with that in the men, and it looks like that might be starting to form again, for that side of things. But with the women, we don't find that there's multiple people hot at the same time. It tends to just be one player that's on that form. So like I say, it's all to see. And I'm not saying, I think a lot of the young players that are coming through, they are exceptional. But what bothers me about them is whether they will have consistency of form, or whether they will be closer akin to the likes of Maria Sharapova, who, great champion, and was a great player, but like I say, couldn't make it last over a period of years.
Yeah, I'm looking to I'm looking to players like Ons Jabeur as well, to kind of that she's done really well, but she still needs to take her game up like another notch. Really, is she capable of doing that? Because she has shown like a good level of consistency, but not quite at the top level. So someone like that, or I mean, Jess Pegula has been playing really well as well. That was quite a tight match against Swiatek. She could be someone that hangs around for a while. Halep, I was a little bit disappointed in. Like, could she come back potentially?
Again, she's always been a favourite for deep runs, but Halep has her moments. Much like she's a good example that embodies the women's tour the way we've seen it over the past sort of 10, 20 years for most players. And that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing at all. It's hard to have that form, especially when the matches are so short. But it's definitely interesting to see if people can overcome that.
Yeah, I guess it might just be a case of Swiatek's there in like all the major tournaments, and then it's just like one or two different players each time that are kind of trying to come up and challenge her.
Probably.
Which, I guess it's still interesting, but it would be nice to have like a couple more players like battling out at the top. But let's see. It's hard to predict what's going to happen anyway. I guess when we on the men's side, when we saw Federer coming through initially, and it felt like it was just him, and then Nadal came out literally like almost out of nowhere or whatever, and won the French. You got
to bear in mind Federer had a good 5 years where it's sort of just him.
So you hope someone else is going to kind of either one of the players we know already like develop, or some other younger player like comes through that we're not aware of. We'd be remiss not to talk about the British side of things. Obviously, Raducanu only she lasted one match. I don't know if what we said in the preview was she'd do well to make it to the second week, so it was always going to be a bit of a challenge. And she's obviously had her like injury issues and different like changes of coaches and all that sort of stuff. It's been quite a turbulent year, so there wasn't really like huge expectation anyway, but I think it feels to me like she needs to find a solid kind of consistent team behind her if she can, like pretty soon, because when you look on the
Yeah.
men's side, for example, like Alcaraz, and he's only 19, but he's got like he's had Ferrero since he was like 16, and he's got like the same, I don't know, strength and conditioning team behind him and all that sort of stuff. It feels, like it's a bit more well. I suppose it's going to be more well planned because they've seen
Yeah.
him coming through. But with Raducanu, it's a bit more of a surprise. But she does need to find that team behind her, because all the pretty much every top player has had a coach or a team that stays with them for a long period of time. Think of like Murray or Serena. She had
Yeah.
Tommy for
Yeah.
ages.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's I don't know how you kind of see things at the moment with her.
No, I completely agree. She does. She needs. I don't doubt her talent, but something about the consistency of it doesn't matter what it is, it's consistency of schedule, consistency of training, consistency of strength and conditioning. Doesn't matter what you pick. I don't think any of it's quite there yet. And don't get me wrong, I don't want to say this and and make it like I know everything about her, because I don't. But that's how it appears when you watch her play. Some days she turns up, and some days she looks lost. Um, I would. I'd love to see her have a consistent coach. My genuine wish is that Murray will retire in the next year or two, and go into coaching, because we know he'll be a fantastic coach, and I think he'd be able to work wonders with someone like Raducanu. But to be quite honest, I love Murray. I'm sure he'd work wonders with anyone.
Yeah, and he's got all that like team with him as well that could go on to
Yeah,
another player. And you've already seen
he
the
knows
effects.
he knows what it takes. He knows
Yeah,
what it
yeah.
takes. He knows what it is to not have talent and still make it to be one of the best in the world. Um, and I think that's where he as a coach would excel beyond the likes of Tony Nadal, for example. Tony's worked with players who are talented, and he knows how to push them towards being unstoppable. But the likes of Andy Murray, with Ivan Lendl and stuff like that, like it's a whole
Mm.
different mindset.
Yeah, well, I think she's gonna, from what I recall, she said she's gonna go away and play like some smaller tournaments as well in the kind of near future, which is a good idea actually. I think just
Yeah,
get back to some kind of like normality, try and get away from the spotlight a little bit, and just focus on her game and just getting
yeah,
competitive practice really, because it is just I can't imagine like how like the change from before last year's US Open to then winning it, like the change in attention and just literally like not being able to go anywhere without
yeah,
people
yeah.
harassing you. That's just a lot for anyone to deal with, let alone someone who's like 19 or 18 or whatever. So
It's
yeah,
great though. She made a lot of cash and sponsorship deals.
yeah. Well, she's she's sorted, isn't she? But I'm sure, like mentally, she probably doesn't feel as good as she did last year, of course. So
Well,
yeah,
you don't know. You don't know. Maybe, okay, fair enough. Following the US Open, she probably doesn't feel mentally quite as good. But in terms of how her tennis is, she might be feeling better. You don't know. She's had a valuable year of experience, but like with a lot of these young players, like it does take time. Not everyone can be just outrageously superhuman.
mm, yeah. Anyway, we'll see how it develops over the coming months and years. I'm sure there'll be more positives to come as long as she stays injury free and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, so onto the men's side. As we said before, a new king of tennis has arrived, the world number one and now US Open champion, King
Mm,
Carlos Alcaraz. It was a battle for the number one spot as well as for a maiden Grand Slam, which is quite nice actually. As we said
yeah,
before the tournament, this US Open can often be the time where outsiders per se can like come in and take the tournament. It's a bit more unpredictable than the other Grand Slams. So it was nice. It was kind of most of the tournament felt like it was unpredictable. You didn't really know what was going to happen. We got like some young players coming through. Also, we had Nadal, but he had some kind of like injury issues again. TFO doing really well, which was great to see. Kyrgios was doing decently, and then he probably would have felt it was quite a big missed opportunity.
yeah,
But lots of like emerging players and just kind of some rivalries to get stuck into really, like hopefully for years to come. One of the main ones being, if we talk about it before we talk about the final, Alcaraz and Sinner. They've already played a few matches, notably that one at Wimbledon where Sinner got the better of him. Sinner had actually had, I don't know if Alcaraz had beaten him actually before the US Open match. So I kind of thought it was going to be a tough match, but 5.5 hours finishing at like whatever it was it like 3 a.m. or something? I woke up in the morning and it was still going on, which was a bit weird.
Yeah, I was the same.
So yeah, like I thought that was one of the best matches I've seen in ages, like one of the best matches of the year. Just the sheer consistency of that playing at that pace and just the running as well are just ridiculous.
Unbelievable quality, unbelievable superhuman fitness. I'll be honest, I didn't think Sinner had it in him. Doesn't look like a guy who's going through an extreme strength and conditioning regime, does he? And I feel a little concerned. Maybe it's a genetic thing, and he just doesn't look as defined as he might be. But something about his build makes me feel like he's going to get an injury sometime. Really hope he doesn't. Really hope he doesn't, because as you say, this is one of the things where he could become part of one of the next great rivalries. Like forget Roger and Rafa, and forget Djokovic and Murray, or any of those big four combined in any scenario. Although Murray and Nadal was never really a rivalry. It's one of those things. Like now we've got these new hot stars, and they look like they're going to be good for the future, and good money for the future as well, rather than just sort of being a blinding light and then fading into the darkness.
Yeah, I think he might be more of like someone of a Djokovic type build. So no, I think he's definitely of that body type. I don't know what his, like you said, his strength conditioning regime is, but I mean he's got like great technique, hits the ball with great power for someone of that build, and again he moves around in the court really well. He's pretty quick as well, so I don't think there will be too many concerns there, but you never really know.
No, I don't think it. But sometimes when you watch, it does make you wonder, like what they put their bodies under. Like Carlos looks like he's built for it, whereas Sinner doesn't necessarily. But again, as you say, it might just be that's just the build they have.
But the potential though, if he does kind of build like physicality a little bit more, he's already incredible. So yeah, it'd be good just to see a rivalry like that rather than just Alcaraz kind of storming everything.
Yeah, I think those rivalries are more likely though. What always worried me is that those rivalries would be diluted. Like the quality of tennis will still be there, like with the Big Four, for example. But what always worried me is the idea that maybe there'd be too many rivalries, so that none of them actually feel like genuine rivalries. Because a lot more players these days are becoming all the more rounded, well-rounded. They're good movers, they're aggressive hitters. They've got that sort of whole package because they have to. Otherwise, they're not going to make it these days. Unlike sort of 20, 30 years ago when you could be a great server and volleyer, and that's why you won. John McEnroe springs to mind. Like I say, I think they look genuine. They do look genuine. Something about the Alcaraz-Ruud match, the final, didn't feel like a great rivalry necessarily. It could be, but it didn't feel like one of those things, to last through the ages. There's something about that Sinner and Alcaraz match. It did feel like we'd struck a new vein of gold.
Yeah, it felt like watching the Sinner one, it felt like there was a bit more jeopardy for Alcaraz. I was like, the genuine chance like he's going to lose this. Whereas
this could swing one way or the other. Like there's no way that one of them's on top at the moment, even when they look like they were on top.
Well, yeah, because Sinner had his chances. I mean, he had match point, but he also had like some break points or set points where he got a little bit tense and like lost the point because of that. So like it wasn't like he didn't have a chance to win the match. Like he was really close to winning the match, whereas in the Ruud one it just felt like Alcaraz was kind of in control of it, almost like he could kind of it was on his racket, and it was just whether he could just kind of execute what he wanted to do really. Because
could he keep his head, could he close it out? That was the deal with the Ruud match, it felt.
I was a little bit concerned with, I know he's young, but he literally had played 3 5-set matches in a row, all finishing really late. I was like, well, it doesn't matter like how young you are. That's like seriously tough. I
hope he takes a break now.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure he will. But like even the Big Four back when they were younger, that would be a serious effort. I mean, I know they have done it. They've backed up 5-set matches, but like you can't really get much more difficult than that going into the final. So when he lost that second set, I did kind of think, a little bit. I was like, is this like mental fatigue coming from those previous matches? But then he kind of managed to just sort of grind out the third set, and then he sort of lifted it a little bit for the final set and didn't really show any fear or anything like in serving out, because like we know, even as we said, like the big four guys, they've shown nerves as well, like when serving out to win a Grand Slam, as you would expect. But he just, I don't know, he just seems to like perform even better, or like he just kind of embraces everything. Like I think Courier said it on commentary, it was like he just sees everything as a chance to be aggressive and like creative, basically, which is so different from like most players who would just find there'd have to be a little bit of fear there of like what could happen.
It's unbelievably positive. Like again, any moment where us mere mortals would have a moment of fear or a moment of doubt, like for him, it just looks like just wired in, and nothing seems to be shaking. It's really nice to see. It's a mentality I don't think we've seen since Federer. Djokovic tries to emulate that mentality, but ultimately I don't think it's there. I think it's an act more than it is a reality. Whereas Federer, it felt effortless, and Alcaraz is bringing that back.
Well, yeah, that was kind of the nature of, that's the similarity between Federer and Alcaraz's game, is that wanting to be on the front foot, always trying to be aggressive.
Positivity, yeah.
Nadal and Djokovic and Murray were always, I mean, they obviously had the shots, but they were kind of, they like to almost like grind down the opponent a bit more. Yeah. Patience. Yeah, patience, sure. But yeah, it is, yeah. Like, I think they said Ferrero has almost had to like tone down his game, because he's just like too aggressive in like training and stuff. So,
but that's quite normal, because when you're having fun and you can hit those shots, you can hit 107 mile an hour like lightning bolt forehands, as if you're Juan Martín del Potro every day. Then you got to take it down a bit, because you're not going to need to hit that all the time, and it does take its toll on your body. So, Ferrero's doing a great job of managing a player in that way, and bringing him, to a place where he's matching that positive mental attitude with the consistency that he needs.
Yeah, it's again, it's a bit of a scary thought for kind of the rest of the tour, when he's got like literally all of the shots. Like his volleying was incredible as well, and obviously drop shots off both sides are like, I love
watching Carlos come in for the volleys. It just looks so effortless. He's just there as well. Again, we talk about tennis brains. His brain, he's there in the court, exactly where the ball needs to be. And even if it's a little bit further away from him, it's just a little reach. Most people, it looks like such an effort, but no, not for him.
Yeah, it's just athleticism, just everything. Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, he could improve the serve a little bit, but it's like everything is just there, isn't it? Yeah. Scary. Okay, so another young-ish player. I guess we kind of don't really realise he is still quite young. I think he's like, he's 24 or something? Francis Tiafoe,
maybe.
Showing everyone kind of what he's capable of in this tournament. The fact that first of all, he managed to beat Nadal, and no matter whether Nadal's kind of injured or whatever, it's still incredibly tough. As we saw in Wimbledon, he still beat Taylor Fritz in 5 sets when he had that abdominal tear. So that was incredible. And then he managed to back it up, and then obviously he went to 5 sets against Alcaraz. So he's pretty close. Do we feel like he's kind of turned a corner a little bit here, or is he still a bit fragile mentality wise?
I think he's got the mentality for these big games. This is the funny thing. I think he's got the mentality for these bigger games, and I think he proved that. Like, one of the things we said about the highlights between Carlos and Francis Tiafoe was the fact that the celebrations were unreal. It was so much showmanship going on all at once, all that court. Like, if you're a supporter, if you're a fan, like, that's what you want. That's what you want as a crowd. You want to get fired up. You want to watch someone undergo that emotion and sort of, like people would say, oh, no, he's just being cocky. But in that moment, when they've played amazing tennis and they know they can celebrate, you want to see the celebration. You don't want to see someone just walking back. You want to clap with them. It feels like you're enjoying that moment on behalf of them, sort of thing. So I think he's really good for tennis. And I really hope that he finds that consistency. The problem is, up until now, he struggles largely with earlier on in tournaments, where he'll come out because he isn't able to string together that consistency in the absence of the showmanship and stuff like that. Because he's got that positive attitude, he's got the shots. We know he's got the capabilities, but like I say, that question resides over his mentality towards each game. Does he have that game plan? We can compare him to the likes of, Gael Monfils as being a showmanship. You can compare him to the likes of Kyrgios in terms of, slightly fragile mentality. But yeah, I think in the big moments he's there. It's the little moments that I don't know if he's quite there yet for.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, also when he's playing on like smaller courts or whatever, and there's not so much of a crowd, can he just stay focused
Exactly.
and create his own kind of like motivation or his own energy to win the match? Because like you said, he performs better like in front of bigger crowds.
He performed incredibly, and I know it's a home crowd, but yeah, that crowd really fired him up, and that was really great to see. Problem is, like I say, he needs to find that without the crowd.
Yeah, it is. I do love the celebrations and stuff. I find it.
Oh yeah, I think it's great.
It's not like I don't find it overly arrogant. I just find it quite funny. Just like the different kind of like ways they kind of celebrate points. Alcaraz was the same. He sort of like does this like little nod or whatever. It's just funny to watch. It's good. It's good fun.
I really enjoyed TFO's sort of like looking around. That was brilliant. I thought that was excellent.
But when he like runs to his chair after he's finished a game.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
Like I say, we need more of that. We need more character in the game. That's definitely going to help. Yeah.
Even like Kyrgios showed it a little bit as well, like in a good way. There was that one point where he ran around the net and like hit the volley and thought he'd won the point or whatever, and he's like, "Wait, what?" Didn't realise I wasn't allowed to do that. Just little things like that. Yeah, like a bit of comedy or like lightness to it is always nice. Because it did feel like with the big four, it was kind of like it was really serious, like almost too much so at times, like which you understand, but like it's entertainment, so we want a little bit of
you need a little bit of
spice.
A little bit, yeah, and that's one thing that you can bring in a highly mental game. You can add in a little bit of humour.
Yeah. Tennis trivia is back. Of course, it's US Open or American theme this week. So we're going to start it off with the man of the moment, of course, Carlos Alcaraz. So you might kind of predict what this question is going to be. So Carlos Alcaraz became the youngest male player to become world number one by winning the US Open. I want to know who was the previous youngest male player to get to number one. So your options are Bjorn Borg, Leighton Hewitt, Pete Sampras, or Rafael Nadal?
Good question. I feel like I've read this recently.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's a bit of a red herring because I know Sampras was one of the youngest to win the US Open and almost inseparably close to Carlos in age when he won. Yeah, it's a good question. Good question. So you're saying Nadal, Sampras, who are the others?
Hewitt and Bjorn Borg.
Hewitt and Bjorn Borg. Yeah.
Thought you would.
I'm going to go with Federer. I'm going to go with. Oh, I mean, sorry, Nadal. What am I talking about? I'm going to go with Nadal. I literally combined them in my head. Yes, I'm going to go with Nadal.
Get a grip. It's Leighton Hewitt.
It was Leighton.
Yeah. Your previous favourite player.
Yeah.
Before Muzzer.
Didn't know that about him. I didn't know he was youngest. I had a suspicion he was close, but I didn't. Like I say, he wasn't great for a really long time. So
that did surprise me a little bit. Actually, he was. I think he was. They said he was 17 months older when he became number one. So like Alcaraz has beaten it by quite a significant amount, which is crazy, really.
Wow.
There we go. Okay, on to number two. So a women's question. So Ons Jabeur, she obviously lost this US Open final, and she actually lost the Wimbledon final as well. Maybe she's our nearly woman of the week. Yeah.
Oh, that's mean. That's mean.
But over the last 10 years, I want to know which player has made 3 US Open finals and lost them all in 3 sets. So your options
Ah,
are Angelique Kerber, Caroline Wozniacki, Petra Kvitova, or Victoria Azarenka. This is very much
okay.
a nearly woman question. So
Hmm.
three US Open finals, losing them all in 3 sets. So you kind of got to think who does like pretty well at the US Open generally.
Who goes pretty well, yeah. Hmm.
I reckon you could probably rule a couple out through
Yeah,
data.
it's between two for me at the moment. Um, oh God, the thing is pressure on because I don't know the answer. Normally, I know an answer, and that settles me down a little bit. But now that's two that I don't know, so it is a slightly trickier one. Hmm.
Who are you torn between?
I'm torn between Kerber because I know she had some decent stretches throughout the years. Kerber and Wozniacki. Might not be the two that you're expecting me to say. Um,
No.
oh God, tough one. I've got to answer. I've got to answer. Maybe I'm not going to go with either of those two anyway. Wozniacki.
Get a grip. It's Victoria Azarenka. Yeah.
Azarenka
I would, yeah. I don't think Wozniacki actually
doesn't
made that
surprise
many
me.
finals. To be like, just
Did she not?
generally,
No, she didn't make three.
I don't.
Interesting.
I don't know if she made. Well, she must have made at least one of them, I assume. But
Yeah,
yeah, like Kerber, I always thought she was stronger on grass. Same with Kvitova. So I wouldn't have
that's
thought
what
they would have
bothered
made
me with the
three in
Kerber and
finals.
Kvitova one. I was like, well, maybe Kerber was slightly better, but Kvitova for sure was a grass court sort of specialist almost.
Hmm. Oh no. Okay. Well, yeah. I've looked. So Wozniacki made the U.S. Open final twice. So you're not far off 2009 and 2014.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
Yeah, I felt it felt like she'd been there a couple of times recently, so I was like,
So she was a nearly woman, but just not nearly
not
woman.
as nearly as the other nearly. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, 0 from 2. Here we go. Number 3. I think you should be able to get this one. So
Yeah, calm down.
I'm usually terrible at this, so this is surprising me. I want you to name the last Spaniard not called Nadal or Alcaraz to have reached the US Open men's final. So your options are
Hmm.
Juan Carlos Ferrero, Tommy Robredo, Feliciano Lopez, or David Ferrer.
Oh, that's a great question. See, I want to say David Ferrer because of his streak over that period, but I don't know if he managed to do it for that long. Um,
I will say it's been quite a while. That's what I'll
yeah,
say.
just reach the final or win it.
Just reached the final.
Okay. Yeah. Don't know who I want to go with. So I don't want to go with Ferrer now because he always struck me. He struck me as a nearly man, dare I say it. Got to
Oh yeah.
finals, smaller tournaments. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know if he was never really considered to be almost a contender for larger tournaments in the same sense. Always around the top, but never quite there.
Hmm.
Yeah. I'm going to say Rob Brado.
That your final answer?
Yeah, don't like it though.
And there's a reason not to like it, because it is incorrect.
Oh,
It
that's
is
sad. Very sad.
Juan Carlos Ferrero, Alcaraz's coach.
I didn't want to believe it was a finalist that was coaching him. Too perfect.
Yep.
Too perfect.
That's why I did it. It was he lost in 2003 to Andy Roddick, actually.
2003. That's more recent than I thought, actually.
Really? Well, I suppose, yeah. They're all, yeah, well, quite a while ago, I suppose. But yeah, there you go. The coach of Alcaraz. He was a nearly man of the US Open, but obviously he did win a French Open, so
Yeah,
there's some credit there.
Still largely a champion in many ways, yes.
Oh yeah, great player. Okay, 2 more to go then. Question 4. The Men's World Cup is coming up this autumn. I want to know who won the US Open men's title the last year the Men's World Cup was held. So you should probably be able to logic this one. Your options are Nadal, Djokovic, Federer, or Cilic. So basically you just need to know when the last Men's World Cup was, and I suppose you might be torn between 2 players, possibly.
Torn between 2 players, you say?
Or not, you might just know it.
Would you like me to keep you in suspense?
No.
So kind. So the World Cup is again in 2022. So we're talking 2018. And that was Novak Djokovic.
Correct, yes, well done. He's got one on the board.
Yeah, I'll take one at this stage. I'll take one.
I should have put this one at the start.
I don't want to get bageled.
Yes, that was the last. The last World Cup was in 2018. That was Djokovic's 3rd US Open. Has he won it since then? I can't remember whether he has actually won it. Oh,
he hasn't. No, because he got disqualified the year he should have.
And then he lost to Medvedev last year, didn't
he? Yeah.
And then Nadal won it in 2019, from what I can remember.
Yeah.
There you go. So we're 1 from 4. Here we go for the last question. This is to salvage some pride, I think. Normally we're going for a 5 out of 5 here, but it's been a tough week at the office. So The final question is, Russians are being allowed to participate at this US Open. And I want to know how many Russians, men and women combined, have won the US Open. So your options are 1, 2, 4, or 7. If you can think back to what Russians would have won this tournament, male and female. I think you'll definitely know 2 of them for sure, probably pretty easily. But are there more?
What were the options again?
1, 2, 4, or 7.
So in my head I counted 3, so it's a good thing 3 is not an option, because I would have just chosen that. 1, 2, 4, and
7. Who have you got at the moment then? What players, or how many times that those players have won it?
What? How many times have Russians won, or how many Russians have won?
No, sorry. It is. Yeah, it's just how many Russians. Yeah.
How many Russians?
It's the players. So you got to think of it. Yeah. Different.
We've naturally got Daniil Medvedev. Just Russian or Belarusian as well? I don't know. It makes a difference.
Careful now.
Yeah. Oh God, this is a tricky one as well. I'm trying to think. 1, 2, 4, or 7. I'm gonna go with 4, because obviously we have to count Maria Sharapova, and I'm sure there's more. So I'm going to say 4. That's where you're going to throw me right off a cliff and say 7.
That is correct. Well
Good.
done. Yes.
Thank God.
So the other two that you would have been you will know, but you will have not been able to kind of think of off the top of your head, were Marat Safin.
Marat Safin, yeah. He's like a blind spot player for me. I always forget about him.
Yeah. He was like he was a pretty solid player, and like he would occasionally take out a big gun, but he didn't really. Yeah. He's quite easy to forget, bless him.
Just like Greg Rusetsky. Every time he pops up commentating on something, I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot he ever played tennis.
Yeah, we remember Tim, who got to a semi-final or whatever, and
yeah, but we don't remember an actual winner.
No. Do you know who the other one was? A female Russian?
No, not sure.
Svetlana Kuznetsova.
Oh, Kuznetsova. Yeah.
There you go. So it was 4. Although I suppose, yeah, it's just 4.
Yeah, that was quite a whirlwind year as well. Yeah.
There you go. Blast from the past there. So we have finished on 2 out of 5. So you're back with kind of me and the
yeah, I'm at your level now. Something's gone wrong if that's what's happening.
Which means next time I do it, I'm probably going to get like 1.
Or it's a complete role reversal.
Yeah, suddenly I've clued up on tennis in the last few weeks. No, I thought those questions were good. They were challenging. I think some of the options were similar-ish. So yeah, no. I wouldn't say you've lost that much respect there, but they were tough questions.
Let's hope. Well, if you had said that, then there are some people listening that are thinking to themselves, "Well, I didn't know any of those answers." So that's great.
Well, there you go. You've learned something. Yeah. Okay, yeah, that wraps it up for this week and our US Open kind of reaction or review. Let us know in the comments what you kind of thought of the tournament. Are you excited about this potential kind of these new young guns coming through on the men's side at least? Like, can they just keep this going? What kind of rivalries have you maybe not talked about that could be ones to look out for? And on the women's side, can anyone topple Swiatek in the form that she's in, or is it just going to be her basically versus the rest of the world? Let us know what you think, and give us a follow on Apple, Spotify podcasts, YouTube, like it, subscribe, share it around, and we will see you next week for what might be a head-to-head or another kind of debate, seeing as it's a bit of a lull in the tournaments at the moment. I mean, there's a bit of Davis Cup going on, but it's kind of hard to follow. So see you next week.